So, Glidecams. Do people still use these things? Let's talk about it. This is my Glidecam HD Pro, and I've been using this thing for several years. I've been using this professionally and on short films, and it's great. I love this thing. It's been part of my arsenal for a very long time. However, I have noticed that a lot of people have been moving towards the Ronin-S, the Ronin-S 2, and the Ronin-S 3, or the RS 2 and RS 3. The RS 3 just came out recently, and I feel like a lot of people are gravitating towards that now as well. And I'm kind of seeing that these things are becoming obsolete, and I can totally understand why. I can definitely say that a Glidecam is a lot less versatile than a motorized gimbal. There's obviously pros and cons to every piece of gear. A Glidecam is completely mechanical. As you can see, no motors. This is completely based off of physics and mechanics. So you don't ever have to worry about batteries dying. So no matter what situation you are, you can use this for as long as you want to. At the same time, I would say in terms of what you can fly on a Glidecam, is definitely a lot more versatile. We've been working with giant RED setups all the time, and we actually hooked this guy up to a vest system, and that's how we can fly a bigger RED setup. Yes, I have flown a RED on this. But I do know that Glidecam is very bad with their stock. I remember when I first wanted this thing, when I first wanted to get this for my arsenal, it took like 6 months. I think it was around 6 months. So whenever I first looked it up, and it was out of stock for like 6 months, and I finally got one whenever it was in stock, but there was only like 6 in stock, and I got lucky, and I finally got them again. These things are out of stock again. This is the Glidecam HD Pro. So again, Glidecam is not really good with their stock, but I do know that they just released a cinema rig. I don't really remember what it's called, but I do know it's meant to fly really big camera setups. In fact, this is not really designed to fly bigger camera setups, but if you jerry-rig it a little bit, it works. And the results are quite nice. So when would I fly a Glidecam over a motorized gimbal? So usually I like to fly bigger camera setups on Glidecams. Bigger movie sets and TV shows will use mechanical Steadicams in order to fly their giant rigs. On the couple movie sets and TV show sets that I've been on, they do use mechanical Steadicams more often than they do use motorized stabilizers on their big cameras. Not sure why they do that. Maybe it's just because they don't want to deal with the batteries. And obviously they do use motorized gimbals, but I've seen that only used on big giant cranes and car rigs, but I've never really seen anybody run a big setup like that on foot. I have run bigger gimbals with REDs with an easy rig. I flew a RED Komodo with an anamorphic lens on a giant Movi rig with an easy rig, and it was all of these pipes and things. You're looking like a robot, and honestly, maybe I didn't have enough practice with this thing, and maybe I didn't dial in the settings really well, but it was really a pain to use. That's why I prefer using a mechanical stabilizer over a motorized stabilizer on a bigger setup like a RED. However, when would I use a motorized gimbal like a Ronin-S or an RS2 or 3? I would probably be using that on smaller rigs like the EOS R right here. Even though, yeah, I have used the Glidecams with smaller rigs before, I feel like a motorized gimbal just makes a little bit more sense because of how much more versatile you can be with a smaller camera rig. Because you have a 360 barrel roll that you can't really do with a Glidecam and a big setup. You can go into low mode very easily. Using a Glidecam in low mode is very hard to do. 1.5 million other things that I can't really name right now, but you guys get the idea. I will also say that learning curve is definitely a big difference between the two. A Glidecam is going to take you a lot longer to master than a motorized gimbal like the Ronin-S, RS2 and RS3. I have seen that the RS3, which that recently just came out, Parker Wahlbeck did a video on this, that it can fly a RED V-Raptor with a lot of the lenses that he said that he has. And crazy, awesome, but I can definitely tell you would get fatigued really fast with that thing without any other external support like a vest system or a ready rig or whatever it is you guys want to use. And I know this sounds like a very typical answer, just depends on what you're working on. But that's just my preference. I usually fly big camera rigs with a Glidecam and a vest system. And for smaller rigs, I wouldn't mind using my Glidecam, but maybe I would prefer using motorized stabilizers like the RS2 or RS3. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. What do you guys like using more, Glidecams or Ronin-S's or maybe some other motorized gimbal. And obviously whenever you have a good stabilizer, you gotta have a good camera to put on top of it. So if you wanna learn about my recommendation for a great camera to put on top of your stabilizer, click on this video right here.